Good afternoon. We're learning new details today on the cause of a GO train derailment outside Union Station last week.
The head of Metrolinx saying a failure of rail fastenings along the line caused the issue, which resulted in significant delays across the system. And riders caught up in the massive service disruptions last week will be eligible for a refund. CTV's John Musselman has been following this story and joins us live from Union Station with the latest. John.
Well, Nathan, I can also tell you that the CEO of Metrolinx offered an apology to all the customers, admitting that there was a major communication failure here when this happened. We'll show you some video. As you remember, this train derailed just outside of Union Station. We did learn, though, some of the issues was a slow-moving car at the back derailed, but it caused a snowball effect, major delays for commuters heading on a number of lines. So after a board meeting today, the CEO says that they're working on improving communication for customers, and they will issue this refund for people on February 2nd, 3rd, and the Lakeshore line on February 4th, and those refunds will be automatically put on your card over the next 5 to 10 days. Now, as for why this happened, here's what the CEO had to say just a short time ago.
There were 9 ties on one of the rail that, under stress and fatigue, repetitive stress and fatigue, had allowed the rail to move 1 1/8 inch out of alignment. That's how precise rail has to be, right? That caused the rail to roll, which caused wheels on the locomotive as well as the following coach to come off the rail. Then what happened after that was the train continued to move, right, before the brake was applied. It pulled through the switch that it was about to go through, exiting, damaging that switch, damaging some of the signaling infrastructure. So part of what the recovery was all about was working with the Toronto Terminal Railway to put that infrastructure back together.
So those are the details of what happened. But again, as we mentioned, the CEO did acknowledge there was a failure of communication to the thousands of customers who rely on GO Transit. They didn't really know what was happening, and they weren't getting the proper updates. And he says that is something that will improve. Reporting live at Union Station, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Some major news out of Queen's Park today as the province throws a lifeline to Ontario's struggling post-secondary sector. Ontario's colleges and universities have been sounding the alarm over a budget crunch, which they say has intensified badly as the federal government cut down on the number of international students admitted to the country. Some in the sector had also been calling for the Ford government to end its 7-year-long tuition freeze. The minister responsible for the sector says institutions will now be able to hike fees by up to 2% for each of the next 3 years. It's among changes that will amount to $6.4 billion in additional supports over 4 years.
This is the largest investment in post-secondary education in Ontario and Canadian history, bringing reliable, predictable funding to the sector for years to come. Starting in the 26-27 academic year, our new long-term funding model will provide $7 billion in operating funding to the sector every single year. That is a 30% increase over this year's funding. With this new model, we're funding over 70,000 new seats in high-demand programs like STEM, healthcare, teacher education, and the trades, expanding the programs students want to create the workforce Ontario needs.
The government is also decreasing the proportion of grants offered through the Ontario Student Assistance Program, relying much more heavily on loans. Colleges and Universities Minister Nolan Quinn says the switch will ensure the sustainability of OSAP as its budget has been quickly rising.
It has been nearly a year since a Delta Airlines plane crashed at Pearson Airport, and the Transportation Safety Board is out with an update on its investigation. The jet was arriving from Minnesota February 17, 2025, when it slid across the tarmac and flipped upside down. 21 passengers were sent to hospital. The TSB says so far it has completed an examination of the aircraft's wreckage, and a detailed analysis is underway. It's also analyzing audio from the cockpit and flight tracking data from onboard recorders. The agency says it is still too early to draw conclusions about what caused this crash. In Peel Region, investigators believe there may be more victims connected to an ongoing homicide investigation in Mississauga after a woman was fatally assaulted in an unprovoked attack last month. Peel police are searching for this man, who they say had contact with the suspect prior to the homicide. He was wearing a green jacket, blue jeans, and a black toque. On January 30th, police say a woman was assaulted with a metal rod in an unprovoked attack near Dundas and Dixie. CTV News previously learned the victim was waiting in a tent for a pawn shop to open when she was approached by the suspect. She was taken to hospital and died of her injuries. Police say the accused also seriously injured a man in another attack at a bus stop in the same area.
58-year-old Kent McCarran is charged with second-degree murder and aggravated assault. Witnesses or anyone who believes they had contact with him are asked to call Peel Police. And staying in Peel Region, police are investigating after shots were fired at a Brampton home late last night. Officers were called to the Bellini and Countryside Drive area just after 11:30. Police say evidence of gunfire was found, but no injuries have been reported. The sexual assault trial of Canadian businessman Frank Stronach is underway today after delays stretching more than a week.
The judge-alone trial was initially scheduled to begin last week, but Stronach's lawyer asked for more time to prepare. The alleged incidents occurred between the 1970s and 1990s. Frank Stronach, who is now 93 years old, is facing 12 charges, including sexual assault and forcible confinement. 7 complainants are expected to testify at this trial. There will be another trial in Newmarket. The Crown stated that it intends to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that each of these incidents occurred without the victim's consent. The identities of the complainants are protected by a publication ban. Police are asking for the public's help as they search for a suspect in a break-and-enter at an apartment building near Broadview and Danforth. Officers have released this image of the suspect. They say 39-year-old Corey Ramsey is wanted on several charges, including breach of probation and break-and-enter. Police say an apartment building near Broadview and Danforth was broken into last Friday around 4 in the morning. Police say multiple storage lockers in the underground parking garage were broken into. Anyone with information is asked to call police or make an anonymous tip with Crime Stoppers.
3 garbage trucks caught fire at a GFL yard in Etobicoke overnight. Now, this is a look at the scene near Kipling and Rexdale. Toronto Fire says crews were called here around 2:30 this morning after a passerby called 911. At first, just one of the natural gas-powered garbage trucks parked in the yard was on fire, but flames spread to 2 more trucks. The fire is now out. Nobody was hurt. The cause is under investigation, and police can't say at this point whether the fire is considered suspicious. It's been touted as the largest infrastructure project in Canadian history, the country's first high-speed rail network between Toronto and Quebec City.
Now, officials say it will connect millions of people living along the corridor and dramatically slash travel times. CTV's Janice Golding attended an open house in Markham where more details on this project were provided to the public.
Construction on the country's first high-speed rail network won't begin until 2029, but public consultations are running full speed ahead. A Markham open house, one of a series of 26 in Ontario and Quebec over the coming months.
We're really committed on doing the project right and making sure that we bring the public along across the entire life cycle of the project.
Then Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced the project just under a year ago. 7 stops running between Toronto to Quebec City at speeds of up to 300 kilometers per hour.
We have so much traffic, and there's this whole talk about climate change. Having an electrified train would be way better than cars or planes.
I'm hoping that, this phase will be successful and we can look at expanding this network further westward and potentially even linking up across Canada.
I'm not skeptical. I'm sure we can do it. It's possible. There's so many other countries who have the same high-speed rail. We can do it too.
Alto, the Crown Corporation behind the ambitious project, says open houses and virtual sessions are crucial before route alignment and station locations are determined.
What we didn't want to do is put lines on a map and ask residents which one they hated the least.
While he agrees with the concept of a high-speed train, very little knows what it's like not to have a say about a rail route.
They just, before they announced the line, they just went ahead and expropriated the land.
The dairy farmer saying the CNR built on his property in the late 50s.
It doesn't take any consideration when I'm talking about the CN expropriation. They just knew they wanted a line to go from A to B.
Still, Alto says high-speed rail will generate significant economic benefits.
We are the only G7 country that doesn't have high-speed rail. This is something we should have done 40 years ago. So we can't afford to waste any more time.
While final construction funding has not yet been approved, initial plans would see the first segment connecting Ottawa to Montreal. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Toronto's municipal election is still several months away, but a new poll suggests Mayor Olivia Chow holds the advantage. Chow has 40% support among decided voters, according to Liaison Strategies. However, she hasn't officially confirmed if she will seek re-election yet in October. Former Mayor John Tory, who also hasn't declared if he intends to enter the race, has 33% support. City Councillor Brad Bradford, who announced his intention to run last year, has 18%. The survey is based on responses from 1,000 Torontonians with a 3.1% margin of error, 19 times out of 20.
It's been a busy morning at the Milano Cortino Games. 2 more medals for our athletes, but Team Canada is still chasing its first gold. We'll have the latest in moments.
But first, we're learning more about the mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge, BC that happened Tuesday as the community and truly the country mourns this heartbreaking tragedy. CTV's Kathy Lee joins us now live from Tumbler Ridge with the latest. Kathy, yesterday CTV reported 25 injuries in this shooting, 9 deaths, which includes the suspect, 18-year-old Jesse Van Roetselar. Are there any updates on the conditions at this point of those who are injured?
Hi, Michelle. It's been a tough time in Tumbler Ridge, as you can imagine, after this unimaginable tragedy. We do know that at least one of the victims is still in critical care, and social media posts show that mom is asking, people for thoughts and prayers for her daughter. I am referencing Maya here. This has been a tough couple of days for this town, and I do just want to show you we are at the place where there was a vigil last night, and there is a growing memorial right behind me, just so you can see what's been laid down here for the victims of the shootings. We have lots of flowers that are here. Many people have been coming all morning, just laying down flowers and having a moment of reflection and honoring the victims. There are candles, pictures of the victims, and of course there are teddy bears. And there are teddy bears because the victims were so young. We have 3 12-year-old girls, a 12-year-old boy, and a 13-year-old boy, and that, I think, magnifies the tragedy here because the victims are just children. And we spoke to Kylie Smith, one of the victims' parents yesterday, Lance Young, and he wanted to speak to us because he wanted to share his daughter's story, and he wanted to put a face to the individuals who were impacted. Have a listen.
To put someone's picture up on the news, put Maddie's picture up, put my daughter's picture up, and Takaria and Abel and Ezekiel and Maya, who's still fighting for her life, put all their pictures up. Let's stop giving this psychopath the recognition, because these kids were lost before they got to become teenagers. So let's put their pictures up, please, and remember them, not this murderer.
And those victims will be remembered, including an educator as well, and the other 2 victims that were killed at the home of where the suspect lived. This is going to take a lot of time for the community to heal from this, and counselors have been brought in, and they're set up at the community center for anybody who needs to go in and have that kind of support. Michelle.
It's just so sad, Kathy. Your heart breaks for that family. You've been there, you've had a front row seat to what is a devastating time for everyone. How is this community being supported? How are they coming together and coming to terms with this?
Again, as I mentioned, Michelle, the counselors are here, so they're here for them just to help them through this journey. But last night at the vigil, so many people came together at this very spot. And because Tumbler Ridge is so small, like I said, 2,400 people, every single person is connected to each other. People who spoke to me last night either knew the victims or they knew the families. And so they're grieving all together. And one of the students who goes to the high school who survived this, he just said that he cannot believe that something like this would happen in a place like Tumbler Ridge. They moved out of the city to be able to come to a place where they thought was very safe, and by all accounts is still safe. this is a place where you keep your doors open. You don't lock your doors. You know, you go over to your neighbor, and everybody is here to help everyone. So they're having to come to terms with not just the tragedy, but just trying to figure out, you know, not just why did this happen, but how they move forward in all of this. Michelle.
CTV's Kathy Lee live for us in Tumbler Ridge. Appreciate it.
We have more news in a moment, but first a look at the forecast. There's a live shot of the city this afternoon. It looks like the birds are out just chilling on the water. Comfortable conditions today. We're near the seasonal mark, which is nice, relatively speaking. Let's bring in Lindsay for a look at the forecast. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, normally when we say it's a day for the Ducks, it means that it's raining. And interestingly enough, we do have some rain in the long-range forecast. So that should give you a clue as to the fact that temperatures are going to start to warm up. But today, we're on the cooler side once again. It is -4 at this hour. Wind chill -10, feeling into the minus double digits in most parts of the Golden Horseshoe. Yet again, and a big reason for that is these winds that are coming out of the northwest. Not as strong as they were last night. In fact, the gusts are starting to ease now, but that wind direction will keep us cooler today. We've had some scattered flurries ongoing for the last day or so now, but they have really tapered off around the GTA. Not only that, but we expect the cloud cover to continue to clear, and we enjoy some sunshine for today. So there's today at a glance. -2 degrees is where we're hoping to land at some point this afternoon for a daytime high. Things are going to get progressively warmer as we head into the Family Day long weekend. So we'll take a detailed look at your forecast coming up. But for now, Michelle, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Well, it is a big Thursday for Canada at the 2026 Winter Olympic Games. The men's hockey team kicking off their competition, and Canadian athletes already landing on the podium twice today. For more, we're joined by CTV's Scott Hurst, who's following all the action very closely from the CTV National Newsroom. Scott, Canada adding those 2 medals to our tally so far today. We had that one late yesterday. Tell us more.
Michelle, 2 more medals for Team Canada, as you mentioned, both coming from the slopes. A silver medal in men's freestyle skiing moguls and also a silver medal in the men's snowboard cross event. Let's start with the snowboard cross. Really a thrilling finish for Elliot Grandin, a 24-year-old from Quebec. The silver medal, but he was just off the gold medal pace, losing out on the gold medal really by the nose of his snowboard. So getting a silver medal, adding to his personal medal haul, a double medalist during his second Olympic appearance at the Beijing Games, a silver in this same event 4 years ago in snowboard cross, also a bronze in the mixed team snowboard cross event in Beijing. So he now has yet another silver to his ever-growing medals case. Also for Canada's flag bearer, adding to our medal count, silver on the slopes for Michael Kingsbury. He was the second last man down the moguls course, landing a score of 83.71, which actually was identical to the Australian rider who got gold, but the Aussie was given the gold for taking the tiebreaker based on a higher score during the turns section of the course. And so for Michael Kingsbury, his personal medal count is also stacking up. Kingsbury with a gold in Pyeongchang and silvers in Sochi and Beijing. And once again, another silver here for Kingsbury, one of our opening ceremony flag bearers. So overall, Michelle, we now have 6 medals, 3 silver, 3 bronze, still looking for that elusive gold medal.
There's still time. Let's talk about what else we're tracking today. Can we talk about hockey?
Yeah, both the men's and women's hockey team are in action today. For the women, it was the postponed game against Finland that was supposed to start their tournament. That game was postponed because Team Finland was dealing with illnesses. That game taking place earlier today. Canada won it pretty easily 5-0. On the men's side, they're in action right now against Team Czechia. This is the men's first game of their Olympic tournament, and right now at the end of the second period, Canada is up 3-0. The first goal for Canada in this Olympic competition coming from youngster Macklin Celebrini. Right now at the end of the second period, Michelle, it is 3-0 for Team Canada in their first game of the Olympic schedule. So we'll be keeping a close eye on the men's and women's hockey team throughout the rest of the Olympic program.
Nice, comfortable lead for our men. All right, CTV Scott Hurst live for us in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Olympic organizers have disqualified a Ukrainian athlete over a helmet he wanted to wear, depicting athletes and coaches killed in the war with Russia. The athlete was kicked out of competition this morning after denying last-minute pleas from IOC officials to change course. CTV's Garrett Berry has the story.
Vladislav Haraskevich was a contender during these Olympic Games. He finished near the top of the field in his training runs, but the athlete told reporters today after his disqualification that the Olympic moment has been stolen from him and from other athletes. At issue, his helmet of remembrance depicting fellow athletes and coaches that have been killed since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The IOC says wearing the helmet amounts to messaging or expression, and expressions are banned in every case on the field of play.
Once we start taking stands against wars and conflicts, there is no end. There is no end. And this leads into partly why we have these guidelines, is because if we start reflecting all of those conflicts in the world on the sporting field, there will be no sport.
IOC officials say they were working towards a compromise, maybe a black armband, and were allowing the athlete to wear his helmet in training, interviews, and in other places. Haraskevich said the IOC president, Christy Coventry, who traveled to plea with him this morning, did say nice things, but ultimately he says the IOC's actions fall in line with what he calls Russian propaganda. Garrett Berry, CTV News, Milan.
Officials are now warning Canadians to avoid all non-essential travel to Cuba amid growing concerns about shortages of fuel, electricity, and basic necessities. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says the government is working with airlines to help Canadians return home, and Global Affairs Canada consular officials are providing support. Air Canada, Air Transat, and WestJet have already suspended all flights to Cuba.
In a largely symbolic move, the U.S. House of Representatives has voted against President Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada. All right, let's bring in Jeremy Sharon in Ottawa. And Jeremy, this might sound good. What happened?
Yeah, Nathan, look, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is a largely symbolic move, but it is not an irrelevant move. In fact, I think it is a significant one for its symbolism. What we're talking about here is a vote in the U.S. House of Representatives that saw 6 Republicans side with the Democrats to vote through a bill that is calling for these tariffs on Canada to be removed. We're talking about IEEPA tariffs here, or the fentanyl-related tariffs that U.S. President Donald Trump imposed early on in this trade war, using a fentanyl emergency at the Canada-U.S. border, in his words, as a reasoning for implementing these tariffs. It's 35% on goods not covered by CUSMA, 10% on energy resources, and what we've seen is 6 Republicans in the House publicly side against the president and his policy on tariffs. It is significant for that reason. Why it isn't, more significant is because it is unlikely to have a serious impact on the imposition of those tariffs. The House did not reach a 2/3 threshold that would be required for this bill to have to be veto-proof. Now what happens is this moves to the Senate. The Senate would vote on it. Then it goes to the president's office, where he could sign it, or more likely in this scenario, veto the decision before it then goes to Congress, and Congress would not have the power to overturn the president's decision. So that is why this is largely symbolic, but it is adding to mounting pressure the president is facing and mounting opposition to his policies on tariffs. These are the same tariffs that are in front of the U.S. Supreme Court right now, as we're waiting for a ruling by the court to determine whether or not the imposition of these tariffs were even legal. So, it is not insignificant in that the public pressure that the president is facing continues to grow, and now it's coming from within his own party as well, Nathan.
All right, CTV's Jeremy Sharon in Ottawa. Thank you.
Anytime.
The Trump administration is ending the immigration crackdown in Minnesota.
I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude.
The U.S. Border Czar says the enforcement operation over the past 2 months was a success, leaving Minnesota safer. Tom Homan says some U.S. personnel will remain until investigations and other work is done. 2 American citizens were fatally shot by federal officers, and there were also thousands of arrests and protests.
In Arizona, a pair of gloves have been found during the search for clues in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. It's unclear if the gloves match the pair worn by an armed man in a ski mask, tampering with Guthrie's doorbell. Local news stations reported they have been submitted for DNA analysis. Meanwhile, investigators continue to deal with thousands of tips and are pleading with residents to share surveillance camera images from specific dates leading up to the disappearance of the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie.
Europe's Ariane 6 rocket is scheduled to lift off today with a powerful new look. It will sport a new configuration equipped with 4 boosters around its core stage. Their role is to provide extra thrust, allowing the rocket to carry a heavier payload, more than double what it can lift with just 2 boosters. Today's launch will also be the first with a commercial customer. It is carrying Amazon Internet satellites. Liftoff is scheduled to take place at Europe's spaceport, French Guiana. Lindsay.
Well, we've been enjoying keeping an eye on the athletes, but also the weather conditions in Italy this week. Let's take you to Milan and Cortina, where the weather the next couple of days looks not bad. If perhaps you're planning on a trip to go cheer on Team Canada, there's a look at what you can expect the next 3 days for the Winter Games, or perhaps you're enjoying some winter sports a little closer to home. Ski conditions in Ontario still look fantastic. It's been a great season, and of course, this weekend is Family Day weekend, so you can bet that the slopes are going to be busy, and with good reason. We're going to talk about the weather conditions you can expect over the next few days here. A little cooler this afternoon and tonight, but a further warm-up is coming. Details after the break here on CTV News at noon.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
We're into the back half of the week now, and it feels a little cooler today than it did yesterday, but I think with the sunshine in the mix, it's really nice.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And also when you look ahead, you see those temperatures above 0. Feels good also.
Yeah, we see temperatures above 0. We also see some sunny days. So I think the long-range forecast is looking pretty good, especially considering for many it's going to be a long weekend. So that's going to make it extra enjoyable as well. Typically, I think around Valentine's Day, it's often pretty cold here in the city of Toronto. We've had plenty of cold weather this winter. And now it looks like we're getting a little bit of a break. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm, injury lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. We've also had no shortage of snow this winter, and yesterday crews were out in Huron County, so again, this is closer to the shoreline of Lake Huron, trying to clear some of the snow drifts along the local highways there. You know, some of these drifts are about 6 feet high still, and they've led to a few road closures in the area just because of the snow blocking the roadways. So that was another day of progress, but of course yesterday we also had blowing snow in this part of the province, along with some local freezing drizzle as well. Today, it's a little bit cooler once again here in southern Ontario and around the GTA, but we're going to warm up the next few days here, starting with 0 degrees tomorrow and then on the plus side after that. -4 this hour at Pearson Airport. You'll notice that it is significantly cooler the further north you travel, but once again, we find ourselves with some pretty mild temperatures in at least parts of Western Canada. -7 this hour in Wyerton. Good afternoon to you. -10 degrees in North Bay and -2 in the city of Windsor. Windsor's been pretty warm the last few days here, but also back below freezing for today. Worth pointing out, of course, though, that our average temperature this time of year is -1, so we expect to be pretty close to that today, just slightly on the cooler side. Your afternoon and evening skating forecast looks good too. So bundle up because it will feel a little fresh out there, but the cloud cover is expected to continue to clear and we will enjoy some sunshine. The clear skies overnight tonight, though, contribute to it feeling quite cold. So our forecast overnight low for tonight is -12 degrees here in Toronto. Wind chill -19. Look at some of these temperatures outside of the GTA. -18 degrees tonight in Waterloo, -16 degrees tonight in Parry Sound. As for tomorrow, pretty good looking day. 0 is the forecast daytime high. A mix of sun and cloud during the day, an increase in cloud as the day goes on. And we're looking at the possibility of some light snow into the evening. So I'll show you that in just a moment. Snapshot of temperatures right across the southern portions of our province. Again, a seasonal or slightly above seasonal day in most areas. There's that snow and blowing snow that I mentioned still happening around Huron County, Perth County. Less so for us today here in the GTA, but we can't be too surprised if we see a couple of stray flurries. It's this disturbance that we're going to watch now for Friday night. Again, not expected to bring us measurable snow, but I'll simply play the forecast radar here so you can see right around 6, 7 p.m. We're expecting a little burst of snow. It moves on out, and then the long weekend is looking pretty dry after that at this point. At times we might get a little more cloud than sun, but we're going to look optimistically here and forecast a mix of sun and cloud for your Saturday and 2 degrees. 4 on Sunday with mostly cloudy skies, and then Family Day Monday potentially climbing all the way to 5 degrees. That's the weather for now. Nathan, I'll send it over to you.
Pretty good. Thank you, Lindsay. The future of the automotive world is on display in our city as the auto show returns for another year. The show is making its annual Toronto pit stop at the Metro Toronto Convention Center starting this weekend. Enthusiasts will be able to check out the best 40 automakers have up for offer, including the latest on EV technology. From those top of the line brands to the more affordable family vehicles, there's something from the die-hard enthusiasts to the first-time buyer to soak in. The show runs through February 22nd.
I think that every year we try to deliver what we call the total automotive experience. And this year, I think the manufacturers, the industry has really just come together and presented something that you just can't miss.
Yeah, so what's new this year?
Well, I think there's a lot of different things. And I think it's all about consumer engagement this year. And whether you're here to try an EV for the first time or look at an EV, we've got 25 vehicles that are on the indoor EV test track. Of course, Camp Jeep is always a fan favorite. People line up for hours to try Jeeps and an off-road experience here at the auto show.
And still at the auto show, it was a big win for Honda as they grabbed the Canadian Car of the Year award.
Unbelievably great feeling for a manufacturer, but winning it 2 years in a row is really something special. So thank you to AJAC for that.
The 2026 Honda Civic hung on to the title for the second straight year. It's the third time they've captured this title in this category in the past 5 years. Other big winners include the Hyundai Palisade for Utility Vehicle of the Year, and the Porsche Taycan picked the Canadian Electric Car of the Year award.
The federal government says it needs more time to collect data for its probe into allegations of unpaid work in the airline industry. The investigation was launched following last year's strike by more than 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants. The union claimed flight attendants were not being paid for some work, including ground duties. Ottawa says it didn't find evidence that airline sector compensation practices fell short of regulated standards during the first phase of its review, but it did say the issue of compensation for part-time and entry-level flight attendants needed more closer examination.
A new study from the Fraser Institute shows Toronto is struggling economically compared to other Canadian cities. The study finds Toronto's unemployment rate in 2024 was 8%. That's more than 2% higher than the average for all major Canadian cities and 1.7% higher than the average for other cities in Ontario. Median income growth in Toronto also declined by 0.2% during the period from 2000 to 2023. The average for other Canadian cities during that period was a gain of over 15%.
Still to come this noon hour, as pitchers and catchers report for spring training, word that one of the Blue Jays' aces won't be back next season. Chris Bassitt is moving on. We'll tell you where he's headed after the break.
In sports, the Raptors were looking to keep their win streak alive, hosting the Detroit Pistons last night.
There's Levert and a turnover. Walter Scotty with the left-handed slam.
The Raps had their moments in this one, but the Eastern Conference leading Pistons led from start to finish, going on to win 113-95. This was the team's final game before the All-Star break. Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram are off to the All-Star festivities in L.A., taking place this weekend. The Raps' next game is 1 week from today against the Bulls in Chicago.
Free agent pitcher Chris Bassitt has reportedly agreed to a contract with the Baltimore Orioles. Bassitt spent the past 3 seasons with the Blue Jays. According to ESPN, the 36-year-old has reached a 1-year deal with the Orioles worth $18.5 million for the upcoming season. Bassitt posted a message on Instagram thanking Blue Jays fans. And it reads, Toronto and all of Canada, I'm beyond grateful that my family and I chose to come 3 years ago. From having our youngest son there to getting to a World Series and everything in between. It was filled with love and friendships that my family will cherish for the rest of our lives. We gave you everything we had. Y'all gave us so much more. Thank y'all for literally everything.
And we all remember just how close our Blue Jays came to winning the World Series last year. How could we forget? And their success seems to be inspiring more young people to try the sport.
Local programs say they're seeing a big boost in interest for this upcoming season. CTV's Krista Simpson has the story.
Good morning. As pitchers and catchers report in Dunedin for the official start of Blue Jays spring training, excitement for baseball season is growing in places where the diamonds are still covered in snow.
We've seen in the last few years with the success of the Blue Jays that our numbers have gone up pretty steadily.
Registration for Kitchener-Waterloo House League Baseball opened in January, and while they expected it to fill up fast.
This year we set a record, I think, for setting sign-ups. In 4 hours, we were 100% booked with all of our players.
More than 400 others have put their names on a wait list in hopes of spots opening up.
The organization says they're looking at whether there are ways to expand the program to get more players on the wait list onto the field.
And share the joy of the sport.
It's a very individual game, but you have to be part of a team in order for it to work. And you're out in the sun, hanging out with your friends. There's really nothing better.
Over in Guelph, Clark Heimbecker plays for the Ontario Blue Jays in the Canadian Premier Baseball League. He's also a junior instructor at the War Room, an indoor baseball facility, and says he's seeing interest in the sport grow too, thanks to the Blue Jays, though not every player aspires to be the next Vladdy Guerrero Jr.
It's everyone wanting to come out and try their best to be on a team and have fun, right? So it's super cool to see people come out and give it their all. It's awesome.
The War Room, which opened in October, is a place where high-level athletes can train, but it has also been fielding inquiries from people just starting out.
We have a number of different options, be that just coming in and renting a lane, throwing a ball around, hitting a ball. We obviously have instructors that can do one-on-one instruction. We also have more structured programs,
including a development program and summer camps. In fact, they had so many inquiries about summer camp, they opened registration earlier than planned.
We saw a lot of parents jumping at that chance. We still do have spots available, certainly, and we'll continue to expand that as the need arises.
For Heimbecker, he's happy to see more people trying the sport he loves.
Baseball is a super big community game. It's a game where people come together to play on a team. I would say over my years of playing baseball, I've been in many, I would say, families, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be a part and meet so many people in this game.
A sport bringing more and more people together. Krista Simpson, CTV News. Coming up, this is what dreams are made of. Hilary Duff announces her first world tour in nearly 2 decades. We'll tell you when she's coming back to Toronto. Stay with us.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The acclaimed director of some of the biggest blockbuster movies of the past 4 decades is being honored with Canada's top prize in the arts. Titanic and Avatar filmmaker James Cameron has been named one of 5 people to win the Governor General's Performing Arts Award for Lifetime Artistic Achievement this year. Other winners include singer-songwriter Daniel Lavoie and actor-producer Tanya Williams. The awards ceremony is scheduled for June. A new play taking stage in our city is digging into the subject of the ethics surrounding mining for rare minerals and the role of multinational corporations.
Copperbelt is a timely exploration now on stage at the Young Centre for the Performing Arts of the Distillery. CTV's Andrea Case has a preview.
The excitement of opening night could be seen on the faces of the cast and director of Copperbelt at the Young Centre for the Performing Arts. The play is the debut work written by Natasha Mumba, who stars as Eden, a junior mining executive in Toronto.
It's an incredible privilege, but as an actor, it's so unique and so special. Like, I love running the show and doing the show, and I love the cast, so it's really fun to get to do that.
Her character had left behind her wealthy family in Zambia, Africa, to build a life for herself. When her father falls ill, she's forced to return to deal with the problems she left behind. Mumba, an accomplished actor, but first-time playwright, did not want to star in her own show. Director Nina Lee Aquino usually doesn't encourage playwrights to act in their plays, but she made an exception.
Yes, because she's a phenomenal actor, and I would be an idiot not to at least try.
But when they took the play to Zambia for a workshop, she changed her mind.
I didn't account for all of my lived history as a Zambian and my lived history as a Bemba woman, and it all sort of just sparked up, and I was like, oh, actually it is of service, I think, to be in this show.
The Copper Belt is a vital region in northern Zambia, known for its rich copper mining history, economic significance, and cultural heritage.
And I know, the entire Western world is panicking, trying to keep a hold of as many critical minerals as they can before China completely takes over Africa. But we have to be strategic.
Aquino taught Mumba at the National Theatre School and today is the director of English work at the National Arts Centre in Ottawa. Early in her acting career, she realized roles for someone who looked like her would be limited.
So I kind of made a vow to myself that if and when I get into this position of power, that I would make it my life's mission to never have another student, of theater face that ever again.
Promise made, promise kept. The Soul Pepper co-production of Copper Belt is on stage now until March 1st. Andrea Case, CTV News.
Just a few weeks after playing a sold-out show at History, Hilary Duff has announced plans for a new world tour with several stops in the GTHA.
Could these work for Nashville? Ooh. She's cute. Lucky me.
The singer posted a video reflecting on memorable moments in her performance career before confirming her Lucky Me tour is kicking off in Florida in June before making it to Toronto with a show at RBC Amphitheatre on August 12th. Duff then returns to the region playing Hamilton's TD Coliseum February 2027.
Canadian music icon Sarah McLachlan will be taking the stage at this weekend's NBA All-Star Game. She will perform "O Canada" before Sunday's marquee game. Brandy will do the same for the U.S. national anthem. Other performers set to hit the stage are Ludacris and John Tesh.
Coming up is your chance to vacation in one of the most talked about summer homes. We'll take you to the cottage from Heated Rivalry and show you how it's being used to help promote tourism in cottage country.
The new Heated Rivalry series has taken the streaming world by storm, and part of the love story between two professional hockey players was filmed at a cottage in Muskoka.
Here's CTV's Mike Lang on how the cottage could bring a boost to local tourism.
This is the Barlokin Cottage, known as The Cottage from the Heated Rivalry Season 1 finale, where lovers Shane and Ilya take their romance to the next level.
You're not jealous, are you? No. Ilya, I'm gay.
In the series, the cottage is in a remote location outside of Montreal, but in reality, the cottage is situated right off Lake Muskoka between Hudson's Point and Hemlock Point.
It was designed by an amazing architect, and they decided to film there, and I think something that caught everyone's attention is people didn't realize worldwide that Muskoka has these beautiful places to stay.
With 2,500 square feet, floor-to-ceiling glass walls, and wide-open lake views, the Barlokin's shift from seclusion to the spotlight has helped reinforce Muskoka as a top summer destination. Discover Muskoka, highlighting it in their Come to the Cottage campaign with billboards across the GTA, offering a special chance to visit the property.
We're anticipating over 15 million impressions, and we've got a lot of great buzz. A lot of TikTokers have been sharing them, and we've heard a lot of rumblings of people seeing them.
Expected to inspire another cottage booking rush for this year.
It has spurred a lot of web traffic to our site, as far as we're seeing 25% increase in traffic from outside of Canada, as well as inside of Canada, Europe, China, etc.
In terms of actually renting the Barlokin,
the cottage is privately owned. We're hoping that it might be able to come for rent, potentially, just even a little bit throughout the summer. But if people are interested in Muskoka, the good thing is we really have hundreds of cottages people can rent if they can't get their hands on that one.
Whether it becomes available for rent remains to be determined, but Muskoka Tourism says that decision will be made in the coming weeks. Mike Lang, CTV News.
Who knew cottage country was so nice?
We know.
We knew.
It's amazing.
It's no secret.
Something tells me when that cottage goes up, they have to rent it. It'll be
For sure.
In a heartbeat.
And cottage season will be here before we know it. And you know what? Some people go to the cottage all year round, and this might be a big weekend for people to do exactly that. Tonight, if you're sticking around town close to the GTA, it's going to be a little chilly, especially overnighted into tomorrow morning. -12 is our forecast overnight low. Once again, feeling close to -20. There's tomorrow, though, daytime high 0 with varying amounts of sun and cloud. And this is a look at the Family Day forecast. One quick peek into next week, and check out Wednesday for the possibility of periods of rain, with the temperature still above freezing. Nathan and Michelle.
All right, we'll take it. Thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.